Hey, let's go from strange to batshit insane. Number 10, nutmeg. Nutmeg can get you high. Yes, nutmeg, as in the nutmeg your mom uses to bake your favorite nut pie and eggnog. Turns out that these nuts contain a chemical compound called myristicin that is also found in parsley and dill, but in much lower amounts than nutmeg. Apparently, 2 teaspoons of nut contains enough myristicin to affect your nervous system, which causes the hallucination and trance-like state. Oh, and it's also enough to poison you and get dizzy, drowsy, confused, a dry mouth, and potential organ failure. Yeah, these nuts aren't worth it. Eggnog is nuts, though. Number 9, DMHP. Did you ever smoke some Mary Jane? The plant, not Spider-Man's girlfriend. Now imagine doing that, but 1,000 times stronger. That's basically what DMHP is. Weed older brother on steroids. Invented in 1949 by the U.S. Army Chemical Corps in a classified project in Edgewood Arsenal meant to research chemical weapons, a single milligram of this yellow oily stuff, yes, milligram, was enough to make you extremely high and lazy for 3 whole days. Sadly, or luckily depends how you see it, the project was suspended and you may never be able to get high while battling in a war like your German grandfather who was high on meth while invading Poland. Number 8, Jenkem. You probably knew a kid in school who would borrow your Elmer's glue and sniff it to hear voices instead of using it to finish his scrapbook. Kids in Zambia do the same thing, but with poop. Yes, poop. Feces, fecal matter, whatever you want to call it. And it's human poop too. To do this, the kids would scrape the excrement from the sewers, place it in bottles, and leave them in the sun for a week, so the poop ferments and produces intoxicating gas that are then inhaled to get high. Kids these days. It's believed to be more potent than Mary Jane, with one user saying, "With glue, I just hear voices in my head. But with Jenkem, I see visions. I see my mother who is dead, and I forget about the problems in my life." That's actually really depressing. I didn't expect to get sad while researching a drug about poop. Number 7, Krokodil. Krokodil, which means crocodile in Russian, originated from Siberia and was popular in the 2000s. And it's exactly what you think it is. A secret super potion that gives you reptile abilities like the lizard in Spider-Man. I don't know how much more Spider-Man reference I can fit in this video. And here's the secret recipe that you can make at home. In a big witch pot, mix gasoline, oil, battery acid, paint thinner, red phosphorus from match, and codeine tablets to make the ultimate all-natural, non-toxic vegan super reptilian potion so you too can become a giant lizard. Just kidding, it's actually a cheap, addictive, and infinitely worse alternative to heroin. You know it's bad when heroin is the safer alternative. That makes your flesh, skin, and blood rot due to all of its toxic and extremely acidic ingredients that quite literally eat your flesh, which can lead up to amputation. Seriously, don't look it up, it's disgusting, and even more disturbing. In the worst cases, addiction to Krokodil leads to death. It also makes your skin bumpy and scaly, hence the name Krokodil. Well, at least you got your cool crocodile skin, right? Number 6, Devil's Breath. Imagine being on vacation in Colombia, walking on the street, enjoying the Colombian sun, and suddenly a stranger comes up to you and poof! You wake up a day later on the street with no money, no memories of what happened, and probably no clothes either. That's the effect of scopolamine, the worst roofie in the world that robs you of your will while still keeping you conscious, articulate and seemingly fine but unable to control your own actions. It makes you completely hypnotized and positive to every single order you're given, like, bring me to the ATM, or give me your wallet and car keys, or do a flip. Okay, maybe not that one, but it still remains the scariest drug on earth unless you watched Get Out and thought, hey, I want to try that. Number 5, LSD. This is your brain, and this is your brain on LSD. Lysergic acid diethylamide, or acid, is a potent psychedelic taken in the form of bloated tabs. Each tab usually contains a 100 to 200 microgram, which is enough to make the trip begin. Every experience is different and depends on your mood and environment, but the trip can range from seeing vivid colors and giggling, to your pupils widening and your heart beginning to race while reaching a higher state of senses where everything is melting, vivid, and moving, as you begin to be aware of your surroundings at a profound level. Moving fractal shapes and patterns within patterns of all colors appear in your vision, kind of like the kaleidoscope you played with as a child. You start to feel warm and at ease and lay back while admiring the world around you and getting your perception of time and sound distorted. The effects last up to 12 hours but peak 3 hours in before slowly falling off. Number 4. Bromo-dragonfly. Dragonfly is like LSD's sadistic little shit of a brother. While LSD takes you on a multi-dimensional trip to see new colors and be at peace, Bromo just gives you extremely disturbing hallucinations for several days straight with no end in sight. Bromo is also a vasoconstrictive, which basically means he's an asshole who's contracting your blood vessels so you don't get as much blood flowing in your body. This can result in puking, vomiting blood, asphyxia, seizures, and death. One victim of Bromo described him as being dragged to hell and back again many times. It is the most evil thing I've ever tried. It lasted an eternity. Frick you, Bromo, nobody likes you. Number 3, DMT. This is your brain, and this is your brain on DMT. If LSD just makes you trip and see cool colors, DMT, on the other hand, gives you a powerfully immersive, life-altering experiences, which are often described as the ultimate displacement from ordinary consciousness, in which users report experiencing ineffable spiritual realms or alternate dimensions. Describing these psychedelic experiences is a bit hard because it's like trying to explain colors to a blind person or how pizza tastes to someone who's never eaten food. But it goes a bit like this. First, your visual acuity increases and you start seeing geometric shapes and strong colors. Then you're breaking through and your soul is leaving your body. You experience ego death. It's when you lose all self-identity or what's separating you from the outside world. Secondly, you get transported in a waiting room before going to the other side, where you'll meet sentient cosmic and dimensional entities who can interact with you, and are a bit surprised you're here. There's even tales of the entities getting tired of your visits and just straight up sending you down where your trip ends. And remember, all of this happens in only 15 minutes, which is insane. Number 2, Ayahuasca. You probably heard ayahuasca being name-dropped by a self-proclaimed spiritually enlightened pseudo-hippie on Instagram who lives in their van but is actually a trustafarian, whose parents work at Lockheed Martin. In reality, ayahuasca is a traditional brew of DMT-containing plants and MAOI agents who make the trip stronger and longer. The potion is used as spiritual medicine in indigenous ceremonies in the Amazonian Peru and is administered by a literal shaman. The effects are similar to DMT, but even stronger, and can last 10 hours. Ego death is practically guaranteed, and many are awakened by the experience and healed by the answers they found in the trip. It's described by certain as a year worth of therapy in a few hours, and capable of curing your depression, anxiety, trauma, and everything bad. Number 1. Salvia divinorum. Salvia is considered the world's scariest drug, and for a good reason. It's by far one of the strongest psychedelics in the world. Seriously, I haven't heard of a single good salvia trip. They're all terrifying. You usually completely self-dissociate and get turned into an inanimate object or live a bizarre alternate life for months. And it's even scarier considering the whole trip feels even more real than real life itself. Imagine taking a puff and immediately transforming into a sentient book, thinking you've always been a book your whole life, living the life of a book with your book family for months, and having your own book thoughts and book worries before being pulled back in reality and completely freaking out because you don't know what's real anymore, all in the span of 5 minutes. That's what salvia feels like. I recommend you read some stories on the internet. They're all horrifying. People turning into car doors, living the life of a paper bag, turning into a spider for years, living in the sea in an alternate world with your sea family, and never being able to see them again. I mean, you could be on salvia right now, and maybe you're an alien in real life who's having a bad trip. That's all for today. Subscribe so I don't become homeless.